The Sengoku, or Warring States period in Japan, was a time of great social upheaval and political intrigue. It was during the Onin War, between 1467 until 1477, that Aoyama Taizan, the chief retainer of Kotera Norimoto, lord of the magnificent Himeji Castle, plotted intrigue against the lordship. No one would have suspected if Okiku, one of Aoyama's young maids, had not overheard him discussing his plan with his follower, Chonotsubo Genshiro, for Lord Kotero held him in high esteem and had even given him a fine mansion within the castle walls, and a set of priceless porcelain dishes from Hebei province. Aoyama was very pleased with his spacious mansion. He was especially impressed with its protective wooden walls, which, like the impregnable castle, were covered with white plaster for fire protection. He also treasured his new set of dishes, which immediately became a valued family heirloom, and declared so precious that anyone who broke one risked being put to death. Smitten by the beauty of Okiku, he entrusted the dishes to her safekeeping, which she locked in silk-lined wooden chests. He hoped that by honoring her with his trust, he would win her affections. There were 10 dishes in the set: 3 cups, 3 saucers, 3 plates, and a teapot. They were made of the most delicate, translucent snow-white porcelain he had ever seen. Okiku was indeed honored by Aoyama's gesture, but she was not sure of her new master's intention. He was a famous samurai, after all, and far above her station. What could he possibly want with her, other than a fleeting romance? So she steadfastly refused his advances. Besides, she was already secretly betrothed to the handsome young samurai Kinugasa Motonobu. They met every night by the castle's main well while everyone slept, and there pledged their love for one another in the light of the moon god, Tsukiyomi no Mikoto. When she overheard Aoyama plotting against Lord Norimoto, she knew in her heart that she was right to have refused him. That night by the well, she told Kinosaga Aoyama's plans. She vowed seek an audience with Lord Norimoto. Unfortunately for the young lovers, Aoyama's mother had followed Okiku to see why she was sneaking about the castle in the dark. She scurried back to the mansion and told her son what she had heard and seen and heard. Burning with jealousy and furious that a mermaid would dare defy him, he ordered his mother to remove one of the dishes from Okiku's chest without her knowledge. Terrified for her own life, the old woman bowed herself out the door. When she was out of his sight, she relaxed her guard and cackled to herself over how simple a task it would be, as female head of the household, to steal a dish from one of her maids. Having seen to the maid's demise, Aoyama sent for his faithful follower, Chonotsubo, and instructed him to keep Kinugasa too busy to report to Lord Norimoto, and, if possible, he was to discreetly arrange for him to have a fatal accident. Once his plan was set in motion, he asked to see the dishes. To Okiku's horror, the teapot was missing. Devastated by her own carelessness, the young maid ran out of the castle and wept by the well. She knew the price she would have to pay for losing or breaking one of the mansion's priceless dishes was death. After 3 days and nights of letting Okiku suffer fear of death and loss of her lover's company, Aoyama went to her and offered to forgive her if she would become his lover. Knowing that her life would be forfeit if she refused him this time, she threw herself into the well and drowned. In the afterlife, she lived in the well and wandered restlessly throughout the mansion, clothed in her white burial kimono. When she learned of Aoyama's deception, she became vengeful. Her apparition appeared in the early hours of the morning and hovered over his sleeping form. Then she woke him by slowly counting to 9 and shrieking in the most hideous voice, "Where is my teapot, Aoyama?" She continued to torment the samurai in this way for months, until he became so worn and thin from lack of food and sleep that he could barely walk, let alone lift his sword. Racked with guilt over her hand in her son's misery, his mother devised a plan. She hid behind the screen in his bedroom and waited for Okiko's nightly visitation. When the ghost counted to 9, she jumped out and yelled, 10! Okiko was so startled by the rude interruption. Her mouth snapped shut and she could not open it to shriek. Frustrated, she shook her fist and glared at Aoyama, but the old woman stood in front of him and glared back. Go back to your well and stay there, Okiko, she commanded. Just look at poor Aoyama. He is not half the man he used to be, and now he is roaming around like one of the living dead. You have had your revenge. Leave us in peace. Okiko listened and nodded, but she was not quite satisfied. She needed one final symbolic act of revenge. She snatched the precious porcelain teapot and disappeared into the well. From that night forward, her sad voice could be heard counting to 9. The local whispered that if you linger by the well under a full moon long enough to hear her shriek, you will age 9 years and go mad. Many years later, Okiko was enshrined in this city as the goddess of Juniso's shrine. April 16, 2010. Nagasaki, Japan. In the middle of the Arabian desert, a golden tower splits the clouds. Written in giant letters of bricks next to it, stand a sign, Idol Service. The building has been obscured from virtually all published satellite photographs, and the one in which it is visible are too low res to distinguish any details beyond the obvious. Located behind it is large fence filled with dozens of military fashion tents set up. There are two notable theories as to what this secretive company purpose is. The one that accepts the official explanation and expand on it by means of speculation, and the one that rejects it altogether. For you to make up your mind, first you must read the About session archive from their now-defunct website. Idol Service was founded by top businessmen from several countries with the goal of creating a new sources of happiness for citizens of the world. We engineered the base for deceased idol singers and allow their light to shine on from the hereafter by our trademark state-of-the-art vocal sampling technology, bringing a smile to the masses since 1999. In addition to this, they used to have an order section from which you could buy numerous CDs purposely recorded after the respective singer's death, along with ones written and produced for already split up groups that were recorded in the Idol Service studio as special albums. There were much speculation as to how the unique style of certain artists were captured by imitators. That is one of the main theories, because the prospect of the company being what they claim to be sound ridiculous to many. However, if one was to inspect the timelines of the artists who they claim to have recorded, it would be difficult to not see the potential reality behind their claims. With the deceased's permissions, I have done research on the last moments of singer Sayoko Aoyama and unearthed a secret that was not meant to be known. In late 2009, only weeks before her early demise at the age of 19, Miss Aoyama's manager was contacted by a foreigner who wished to record her. Even more unusual of an aspect of this call was that he did not specify any songs nor what record label he represented. If any, I interviewed her manager about this, and he admitted to feeling somewhat puzzled by the oddly specific request. The foreigner wished to have Sayoko meet him alone at the Nagasaki airport. Denying this for safety reasons, her manager had convinced the man to allow her to be accompanied by security personnel at the meeting. The reason this deal was accepted to begin with was that the foreigner offered to pay more than double what would be usual for arrangements such as this. She went to meet the foreigner, accompanied by two security guards and her manager. The man that came to meet them was tall and dark with a long brown beard, appearing Middle Eastern. Although Sayoko's manager could not be certain of his nationality, he believed him to be either Saudi Arabian or Emirati. He had introduced himself as Nabu Al-Jabbar. He dressed in a neat velvet suit and wore sunglasses throughout the meeting, somewhat to the ire of both the singer and her manager. Following the meeting, Sayoko had told him that he trusted the foreigner regardless of his slightly rude behavior and that she was willing to record at his studio. A week later, she met again with the man, this time entering his private jet with her manager and flying off to Dubai. From there, they embarked into the desert on camels. The manager got sick and had to turn back with the guide, leaving Miss Aoame alone with Nabu Al-Jabbar. He still regrets his decision, feeling that if only he had stuck with her regardless of his illness, she may still be alive. Whether this is true or not, I can only speculate. What is known is that Sayoko did in fact record an entire album worth of material at the Adult Service studio. I have heard the raw a cappella recordings myself, and can say for certain that it is her, having known her since she was a little girl. What I don't know is how she ended up in Amman, Abu Dhabi, Tokyo, Hiroshima, New York, Los Angeles, Helsinki, and Imatra in pieces. December 10, 2009, Amman, Jordan. Two trucks were inspected by police and their drivers questioned. They were later arrested on suspicion of human trafficking and murder. Though mainly under circumstantial evidence, the only concrete piece of evidence that they had was the single finger popped out in a single container within one of the trucks. These ring fingers belonged to Sayoko Aoame, and it had been cut off while she was still alive. December 12, 2009, Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. A suspicious package arrived at the junior high school, dropped off by a man who eyewitness said appeared European. Inside were 5 toes, all cut from the left foot of the idol singer. Again, tests revealed that she had still been alive when they were severed. December 13, 2009, Tokyo, Japan. A businessman came home to find a package wrapped in a plastic in his bed. He opened it and saw, to his shock, that it contained a human nose. This, too, belonged to Sayoko. It couldn't be determined whether she had been alive when it was cut or not as the tissues was too damaged, but I'm most certain that she hadn't died yet. December 16, 2009, Hiroshima, Japan. 3 schoolgirls saw a suspicious-looking Arab carrying a large black plastic bag towards one of their homes. The man broke in and the girls called the police, but he had already disappeared by the time they arrived. What they found inside the bag, which had been left in the girls' room, was a clitoris impaled on a fish hook and a string with 2 nipples, 3 teeth, and the toes of right foot tied to it. December 16, 2009, New York City, United States of America. A homeless man found a finger in a dumpster. Tied to it was a string with 3 teeth, a clitoris, and a lower lip. Tests showed that this also belonged to Sayoko, and that it had been cut off when she was still alive. Not only this, the clitoris and lip were that of an unknown female. The method in which they had been severed were surgical in nature based on the seams. December 17, 2009, Los Angeles, United States of America. A white van was inspected by police on suspicion of drug smuggling, only to find something much worse inside. A senior officer vomited at the scene. Miss Awame's tongue, fingers, and intestine hung from hooks inside the van along with various other body parts belonging to 11 other girls. One was identified as an American pop singer who disappeared in 2008. Her uterus, ovaries, and breast was plastinate and attached to her microphone stand. An unknown woman's entire torso was also found inside the vent, with a fork and a knife stuck into the organs that had been revealed by a clear white incision. December 20, 2009. Helsinki, Finland. An art collector was arrested in the act of buying a stolen statue. What at first went unnoticed was that the statue had been broken and glued back together. Inside, investigators found Miss Awame's severe ribcage complete with lungs, heart, and a part of a large intestine strung up to it. There were too damaged to positively confirm what the cause of death was, but the medical examiner in charge was almost certain that it was drowning due to the distension of and ruptures in the lungs. December 21st, 2009. Imatra, Finland. The Russian border patrol detained two women under suspicion of being heroin carriers. One of them confessed right away and was jailed, but the other one pleaded that she was innocent until a cavity search was performed. Stashed deep inside her rectum, there was a bag of heroin, but that wasn't all. The bag was tied with a human hair and it also contained several teeth. There was already a small tear in the bag, leaking the drugs into the woman's body. Whether this was intentional or not couldn't be determined, but she appeared genuinely clueless as to how they got there. Published by the blogger Joichiro Haraguchi. December 18, 2014, Nagasaki, Japan. 3 years after the investigation, an Idol magazine clipping was sent to me by a reader. Reading it, chills ran down my spine. Sayoko Awame's manager had been found dead. His suicide note was 300 pages long, detailing the gruesome torture of the singer that he had taken part in. It ended with the following words: "Either services are releasing a brand new album by Sayoko Awame, recorded earlier this year. I have heard the lead singer and it beyond anything you can imagine. As my last will, I will reveal the secret behind the company. It isn't true that they sample vocal recordings by singers. They tear out their vocal cords and attach them to machine. I know nobody will take me seriously, but this is how it is. I have seen it with my own eyes and heard it with my own ears. I can no longer live with the guilt of knowing this and being unable to do anything to help the poor souls gain rest. There are hundreds of idols who have already died, but yet they perform live to a 1,000-headed audience as surgical dummies lip-sync to robots. Even with this confession, theories abound. Had he lost his mind? Was any of it true? Could such a diabolic technology truly exist? And if so, who were the mastermind behind it? Why are the singers murdered, dismembered, and sent off to cities across the world? What purpose do the tents behind the main building serve? Who are these singers that he mentioned? Could your favorite be already long since dead?